Professor Vikasina, Professor Nirpesh, Manisha, and Prema Desai used to come. Professor Vikasina was born on 16th March 1946. Vikasina, in advance, wish you a very happy and healthy life ahead. In village Garia district, Pabna, in Bengal province of undivided India, now in Bangladesh. He has done his BSc Statistics Honors, done MSc Statistics and PhD from Calcutta University, Calcutta. He had several academic assignments within India as Assistant Professor of Statistics in Calcutta University, visiting Associate Professor, Institute of Mathematics, Federal University of Brazil. Then he has Associate Professor of Statistics, Indian Statistical Institute, and then Professor of Statistics, Indian Statistical Institute, member and Chairman of National Statistical Commission. And during that time also, we had a lot of guidance from him. Then he has traveled widely to Federal University of Bahia, Brazil, North Carolina State University, Raleigh, University of Illinois at Chicago, University of Maryland, Baltimore County, University of Waterloo, Canada, University of Augsburg, Germany, University of Tampere, Finland, Mahotsava University, Bangkok.
At least draft to mane ar okhane jawar age pathiye jai.
Anindita, Mahotsava University, Bangkok, and I am sure that in today's presentation, he will be talking all his journey across continents as well as with different researchers. He has UN expert on a mission at a workshop in survey methodology for post-enumeration surveys at Guinea-Bissau, consultant of USPA. He has been associate editor of Journal of Statistical Planning and Inference, editorial board member of Sankhya, Calcutta Statistical Association Bulletin, Pakistan Journal of Statistics, Journal of Indian Society of Agricultural Statistics, and many more. His area of research are wide, really wide, which includes inference, optimal design of experiments, sequential estimation, statistical methods, methods in sociology, ecological studies, characterization of problems, reliability related inference, environmental statistics, and many more. He has been decorated with many awards, recognitions, including PC Melanovis Medal, elected member of International Statistical Institute, coveted plaque awarded by Forum for Interdisciplinary Mathematics. And most importantly, he had been president of section of statistics, Indian Science Congress Association, Centenary Medal of Excellence by School of Tropical Medicine in Kolkata. He has collaborated with researchers in different topics in statistical theory and applications, and so far has an impressive list of more than 100 collaborators worldwide and 140 plus research papers and publications. Most importantly, he has 7 books, research monographs on models for social networks with statistical application, optimal covariate design, theory and application, design and inference in finite population sampling, statistical methods in social science research, topics in optimal design, theory of optimal designs, and optimal mixture experiments. In this, a lot of references from ISRI has also been cited in these books. As I have said, Vikasda has been very kind to ISRI for sharing his knowledge whenever we get an opportunity. And he has been invited for delivering, talking to students, as well as in various training programs being organized by ISRI. During one of his many visits at ISRI, Vikasda was invited to participate in a training program on advances in design and analysis of agricultural experiments in 2005. And he made technical presentation on the topic block designs with nested rows and columns, which is a very favorite topic to him. In 1989, a very paper which has been widely cited on this topic was published by him with Professor Sunanda and Mukhopadhyay, Sunanda Bagchi and Mukhopadhyay. Fortunately, I had an opportunity to join him for this, accomplishing this task and working in this area. We provided lecture notes on this topic, and subsequently these lecture notes were collected, edited, compiled, and eventually published in the form of electronic notes on electronic book on design and list of agricultural experiments, which is available on Design Resources Server since 2005. And this lecture has widely been read as per statistics from ResearchGate. I can go on talking about Professor Vikasda, but I will not be coming in between. His blessings, his guidance, and his mentoring to all of us as always today, because the floor is yours for next 40-45 minutes.
Thank
Because
you.
please.
Thank you, Rajinder. It seems you know much more about me than myself. Okay. Would you please request somebody to share the screen?
Yes, I am doing.
Oh, your Mandal is doing that? Okay.
Is it visible, sir?
Yes, it is visible.
very
Go
much,
ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry.
First slide. Huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Keep it right here. So I thought the best way for me would be to say something about my journey through fields across continents. Next. I gave an abstract to Rajinder. Next, please. I said, like most of us, literally, I have passed through vast agricultural lands across Bangladesh, the then East Bengal, India, Brazil, USA, Canada, Germany, Finland, Thailand, Poland, Egypt, Guinea-Bissau, West Africa, without any implications or insights in the initial periods when I was a tender boy and young man. It is only when I started to learn statistical design issues in agricultural and industrial experiments that my appreciation for why field trials and why different kinds of varietal and factorial designs continued to increase. As an optimal design theorist with basic training at Calcutta University Department of Statistics, I ventured across different places within and outside India and interacted with the researchers in the broad area of DOE. Next. So I want to share with you in a nutshell something about my own experience as I traveled through different continents. Next page, please. Yeah, I plan to give an overview of my journey in the academic world. My collaborators are in Calcutta University, in ISI, Calcutta and Bangalore, USA, Canada, Germany, Finland, Egypt, elsewhere within India, and then altogether around 40 collaborators in the broad area of design of experiments and combinatorial designs. Next. So my main network outside home ground, when I say home ground, I mean ISI and Calcutta University. So the top one is Friedrich Pukelsheim, Augsburg, Germany. Next is Erkki Listi in University of Tampere, Finland. Next, Abdus Samad Hidayat at UIC Chicago. Next, Professor Kirti Shah, University of Waterloo. The last one, lady, Mrs. Professor Dr. Montip Tien Swan in Bangkok, Thailand. Next. So this shows the Calcutta University network, ISI network, Europe and the Middle East network, US and Canada network. Next. Thailand and Bangladesh network, within India, beyond home ground network. I have been really fortunate to have the ability to develop good personal relationship in no time. My collaborators have mostly been very reasonable and accepted me the way I have been. Next. My twin brother is watching me. By the time I had entered my doctorate degree from Calcutta University in 1972, naturally I had my twin brother. He is elder to me by 15 minutes, Bimal, currently presidential research professor at University of Maryland, Baltimore County, Maryland. He was the only research collaborator for me. Our first joint work appeared in Calcutta Statistical Association Bulletin in 1969, and it was in the area of DOE. Subsequently, it was included in my doctoral dissertation in 1972. Since then, we have worked together on a number of research problems from time to time, but on no DOE anymore. DOE has been my territory. He left and went for Bayesian inference and multivariate and other stuff. Indeed, it has always been a matter of fun and game for the two of us to keep thinking jointly on some problems, having an inherent sense of competition.
Speak English.
Who gets the right idea?
And this is my next
That was the idea. Next. Yeah. So guess who is who? Our first joint paper in Calcutta Statistical Registration Bulletin. If we are facing the two brothers, to the left is myself and to the right is Bimal. Okay, next. This is our first publication, comparison of relative efficiency of some classes of designs. Much later in the 80s, Sunanda Bhakti worked, followed it up and then did a follow-up study. Next. To my most revered teachers in Ashutosh College, Calcutta, where I did my undergraduate, and in Calcutta University Department, where I did my postgraduate, I express my heartfelt gratitude for imparting thorough and disciplined training in my young mind on the foundations of theoretical and applied statistics, and for creating a sense of eagerness to pursue an academic career in my own way and with my limited capability. Next. My 110 research collaborators, it has been a rewarding experience. In my journey as a researcher in theoretical and applied statistics for the last 50 years or so, you have been my driving force. I'm addressing my collaborators, and you have inspired me at difficult times. My limited capability has possibly attained a notable heights because of your active involvement and constant encouragement. You have contributed towards my understanding of the research problems, techniques to be developed, and the solutions to be arrived at. I offer to each one of you my heartfelt thanks. 2021, March 16, we, the twins, we attained our 75th birthday. Soon thereafter, I attended Denmark in terms of 110 research collaborators. I'm proud to announce that my revered teacher, Professor S.P. Mukherjee of Calcutta University Department of Statistics, he kindly embraced me as a collaborator, and thus he turned out to be my 100th collaborator. We collaborated along with Professor Ashish Chatterjee of Calcutta University on the book Social Science Research and Statistical Methods. Next. That was a research publication. Every place I have visited has provided ample scope for me to develop personal interaction with people, to be inspired in the presence of young students and colleagues and researchers with motivating research problems, and spend time without any bounds, enjoying the true beauty of research in our own limited way. I have been really fortunate to have the ability to develop good personal relationship in no time. My collaborators have mostly been very reasonable and accepted me the way I have been. My faults have been ignored and excused, and my lapses have been tolerated with extreme courtesy repeatedly on many occasions. Nobody ever gave up on me for my unreasonable or unjustified attitude. Next. So I will be focusing exclusively on design of experiments. It has been my first love as a broad topic for teaching and research in my career. Though I have crossed the boundary of this topic many years back with diversified research interests, I derive pleasure by coming back to this topic again and again. Next. Late Professor Vasudev Adhikari, Calcutta University Statistics Department. Next. I owe much of my understanding on DOE to late Professor Vasudev Adhikari. It so happened that somehow I took full advantage of his teaching of the subject during our MSc course. I was fascinated by all aspects of DOE, and luckily for me, Professor Nondi, my mentor, directed me to work on some aspects of optimal designs for my doctoral thesis. One day, Professor Adhikari asked me to look into some aspects of rotatable designs in group divisible setup. That eventually led to this work. Next. This is my work with my professor, Vasudev Adhikari, 1976, on group divisible rotatable designs, Calcutta Bulletin, volume 25. Next. And my friend GMS, Gaur Mohan Saha, gets connected. Interestingly, during 1975 through 79, I had an opportunity to visit Federal University of Bahia, Salvador, Bahia, Brazil. This is what Rajendra mentioned as a visiting scientist. The invitation was initiated by Professor Rao while he was at ISI Kolkata. He had been one of my PhD thesis examiners. That Professor Jack Kiefer was the other examiner. My friend G.M. Saha was also there in Salvador, and we had an overlap of a little over 2 years. Over there, I had a joint work with GMS. Much later, we interacted again while both of us were engaged as faculty at ISI Kolkata. I make a special mention of Gauramohan Saha because he is a product of IASRI. He went there as a student to do his master's, PhD. He was inducted as young faculty over there, and then he moved to ISI Kolkata. Next. Yeah, so these are our publications. Next. Rahul Mukherjee was a rising star at the time. He interacted with me. He was at ISI Kolkata at that time, and then we had occasions to interact along with Professor Kirti Shah as well. Next. These are the publications. Next. Rita Saharai was my first PhD student in the area of DOE at ISI Kolkata. So by now she is quite successful in collaborating with others. Next. Dr. S. Huda, he came from Bangladesh, he came from Dhaka. He was a student in somewhere in Middle East, and then he did his PhD and he came as a visiting scientist at ISI Kolkata, and we interacted, and then he had a lot of interest in working with Rahul Mukherjee, but somehow he could manage some time and to work with me on cylindrically rotatable designs of type 1. Next. So these are the publications with Rita and Dr. Huda, and then Rita again with Anish Mukhopadhyay. Next. Kirti Shah. If I have to talk about Professor Kirti Shah, it will take 1 hour. So I have to make a judicious selection. I offer my respect to Kirti Da. Next. I'm sure all the people working in optimal design area, please go back. They must have seen this. Yeah, they must have seen this Bible. Lecture Notes in Statistics, Volume 54. K.R. Shah and Vikas Sinha, Theory of Optimal Designs. That is a must read for those who want to work into optimal design area. Next. My first visit to University of Waterloo, the summer of 1986, arose out of an academic debate between me and him during an international conference at ISI Kolkata. For the next 15 years or so, Kirti Shah was to be my away from home primary research collaborator in the area of DOE. He had promoted my regular research visits to the University of Waterloo every summer since 1986 till about 2002. He had equally promoted visits of Kolkata-based DOE researchers to University of Waterloo for collaborative research during this period. Next. As a person, Kirti Da is extremely cordial and kind-hearted. He has showered unbounded affection towards me and my family. Likewise, Mrs. Shah, Bhabiji, is also equally affectionate and kind-hearted lady. I thoroughly enjoyed my many visits to Waterloo, both academically and otherwise. I have closely seen their children and grandchildren grow over time. I have benefited immensely in collaborating with Kirti Da, and it has been my pleasure to have the opportunity to know him and his family personally. He is more than an elder brother to me. Next. So that's the monograph I mentioned. We have one more, Topics in Optimal Designs. Ed Kiliski from Tampere, Finland, Nipesh Mandal from Calcutta University, and Kirti Da, University of Waterloo. And we have a total of 9 journal publications in different journals. Next. Let Professor Anish Mukhopadhyay, first joint paper in Shankar Series B. There is a relevance here. Soon after I joined ISI in 1979, being inspired by Professor J.K. Ghosh, I had offered a research course on optimal designs, which was attended by Anishda and his the then doctoral student Sunanda Mukhopadhyay. In due time, Sunanda started working in this area, and later Rita Saha joined this group. We also had GMS, Rahul Mukherjee, Dr. Huda working in the broad area. At some point of time, Mosumi Sen, now she is Mosumi Bose, also joined ISI to work with Rahul. We had a strong active group working in DOE. Anishda was always with us on various occasions as a source of encouragement. This is our paper, Sunanda Bhakti, Anishda and me. A search for optimal nested row column designs. Next. Afterwards, I had another paper with Anishda. This is Sunanda Bhakti. Sunanda developed herself and turned out to be a very successful researcher in discrete and exact designs. Interestingly, my academic debate with Kirtida was prompted by Sunanda during a question and answer session in one DOE workshop held at Strathmore Unit, Kolkata. Anishda was also present there. Late Professor Jain Srivastava was in the chair and he intervened. I felt extremely ashamed about that incident a few years later, when I personally met Professor Kirti Shah again at the University of Waterloo. And I expressed my sentiment to him. I said, I'm extremely sorry. He said, that's okay. Let's not get into that again. Nipesh Mondo. He was to be my number one collaborator over the next 25 years with 29 joint papers in the broad area of DOE. Nipesh has closely followed my research track in the area of DOE. I have encouraged and inspired him to the extent possible, and he has reaped the harvest with utmost dedication and hard labor. I really appreciate his efforts. We have been at University of Waterloo, at University of Tampere multiple times for workshops, collaborative research. He is truly like my younger brother in the academic world. This is our topics in optimal design, in optimal mixture experiments, optimal covariate designs. Next. We have 3 research monographs as I showed, and we have 26 joint papers, mostly in covering these areas. Next. Hidayat, another giant in the area of optimal designs. Unfortunately, I did not work much with Hidayat in DOE. We started working on sampling, and this is the book that we published in 1991, Wiley textbook. Next. My first visit to Chicago was mainly because of my personal interest, of my Calcutta University ex-student Dibben Mojumdar, who was already a faculty at TYC Hidayat's department. Dibben told him about me. Since the fall of 1986, Hidayat invited me in various capacities at TYC Chicago continuously during the next 30 long years. I continued to enjoy collaboration with him and his doctoral students till 2016 to my fullest satisfaction. It is fun to work with Hidayat. Indeed, a great pleasure without feeling any pressure. A great personal friend and a great entertainer with humors made me always feel at home. I feel bad that I could not invite Hidayat to any of the conferences that I had organized, either at Calcutta or elsewhere, but he came to Bombay once, long time back, before I got to know him personally. He came to Bombay. From there, he came to Delhi, but that was long time back, at the time of Professor Sudip Mitra. He came to Delhi, that's it. But it is unfortunate that even though we are so close, I could not get him here. Anyway, so these are our collaborators in the stat lab. There is a stat lab there. It is fun to be over there and to spend hours and hours. So these are our collaborators who work in many different areas, but no proper DOE. Only recently, we had a paper with his doctoral student, Domagni, African student, on the nature of saturated 2 to the power k factorial designs for unbiased estimation of non-negligible parameters. This paper is rich in content. I would encourage the research scholars to go through this paper and to see that there are still some open problems here and there. Next. Professor Friedrich Puckelsheim. Upon an invitation from him, I had visited him for 2 months during the summer of 1993 and worked with him and his colleagues. So afterwards, both Puckelsheim and Bertrand Heiligars, they visited Calcutta University Statistics Department and attended Calcutta Triennial. But Puckelsheim, next. This paper, Optimal Block Designs Revisited and Approximate Theory Detour, there's an interesting history behind it. When I went and visited Puckelsheim in 1993 summers, his book, as you all know, he has a book in Optimal Designs. His book just came out and he gladly gave a copy of that book to me. Said, Vikas, this is the book that just came out and I got some copies. This is for you. I said, okay, thank you. And then I started looking at the table of contents. And there is this chapter on optimal block designs and approximate theory approach. I read it through. He is talking about optimality of BIBD that we all know. But somehow I could not see some arguments given over there. He is talking about approximate theory detour. So it's not exact 0-1 or binary, non-binary, whatever. It could be anything. I read some steps. I was not feeling very comfortable. I went to him and told him, Fred, I don't think that this is correct. The final result we all know, but looks like the steps are not quite right. He said, is that so? He was kind of shocked. He said, is that so? I said, okay, let me go through it again. So next day I come with a 2-page proof of and all the corrections in the steps that he had written. He was extremely shocked. And then, of course, that was a paper we sent to the SPL, Statistics and Probability Letters, and it was published immediately. So soon after that, he came to Calcutta Triennial. He made a presentation and he openly said, this is what happened. It gave me a heart attack. But then, of course, it was a happy ending. And then after that, for a long time, he was giving an addendum, correction, etc. in his book. Anyway, this is another person who worked on optimality aspects of Agarwal designs. This is Hiralal Agarwal. I met Hiralal Agarwal only once. And that was the time when he was almost towards the end of his life anyway. But I read through some of his papers. There was one paper in Calcutta Bulletin and another paper in Annals. And then after reading those 2 papers, I thought that that's something that we can do. And I checked with Heiligars in Germany, Augsburg, and we had a clear understanding about what is going on. And then we came up with this work. The research scholars, they can still find Hiralal Agarwal's papers highly motivating, more than average, much more than average difficulty level, and it is still worth to go back to his paper and check our reference, and then it is possible to come up with some more work. Next. Erki-Liski, first joint paper in Calcutta Bulletin. Erki-Liski and Vikas Sinha exclusively design. So this was the topics in optimal design with Kirti Shah, Nipesh Mondol and Erki-Liski. Next. It all started with an invitation from my old friend, Simo Puntanen, to spend 1 week in his department in the summer of 1993. For 15 long years since that visit, my collaborators, Erki-Liski and Tapiunummi, they continued to invite me almost every year for 1 or 2 months. I have thoroughly enjoyed my visit to Tampere University in Finland. Indeed, it was academically very much rewarding. Warm hospitality of the faculty, office staff, and people around the city as a whole are exemplary. During one visit, I also had Sumin Gupta and Nipesh Mandal with me, and after that, Mandal made multiple visits. These are at family level. Next. So Marcus Abt is in Augsburg, Germany, then Erkidisky, then Mondol and Sina. Abt, Norbert Gafki, again in Augsburg, Germany, Liski and Sina. Laura Koskela, a student at Tampere University, Tapio Nummi and Sina. Next. So papers, series of papers going on. Next. 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 Okay. Thomas Matthew, University of Maryland, Baltimore County. Thomas was my student at ISI way back in 1979. During one of my visits to UMBC, I worked with him on a problem. It was immediately published in the SPI 2001. Of late, we also worked on another optimality problem. He is very well known as a disciplined researcher in many subjects. He is now in the editorial board of the Annals. Yeah, so these are some of our papers. Next. Monisha Pal. Monisha has turned out to be a serious and a disciplined researcher in optimality aspects of mixture experiments. All credit goes to Nipesh Mandal for inducting her in this area of research. Monisha took immense interest and our team grew stronger. This is a book where Monisha has co-authored. Next. These are the publications. Let me skip. Next. You can see Pal. Everywhere it is Pal. Next. Next. The last one possibly is what's showing. Can you go back, please? That just came out. Sina, Mondol, and Pal. Statistical design issues for fMRI studies. A beginner's training manual. Advances on methodology and applications, a volume in honor of C.R. Rao on the occasion of his 100th birthday. So this volume was edited. It is a Springer Nature book. And then in that we have a paper on the study of fMRI design issues. It's a very interesting paper, unending avenues of research. For the research scholars, I would say it is good to read how in fMRI study, design models have been introduced and designs have been thought out. It's a difficult area, but it is worth pursuing. Next. S.B. Rao. At one point of time, he was director of ISI for 1 or 2 terms, but then he is a combinatorial man. So we worked together, S.B. Rao and Prasada Rao and me. At one time, GMS also 15, and then we had some nice time in ISI Kolkata. Fond memory of spending long hours in a room called L Infinity, staring at the board and entering into arguments. Truly exciting indeed. Those days are now gone. Anyway, next. These are the publications. Let's skip. Next. Professor Raghava Rao. I met Professor Raghava Rao. Of course, we all know him with probability 1. For about him, also him. But anyway, so at one point of time, I met him in one conference. He accused me, because how come you go to Kirti every year, you don't come to me? He was mentioning about Kirtisha. I said, Dada, he gives me money, I come and go. So if you arrange for my visit, I will come, no problem. Kirtida arranges for my visits regularly from his grant, and we are doing quite successfully. He said, okay, that's a good point, so I will try to call you next time. So I get an invitation from Professor Raghava Rao to visit him for 3 weeks. He says, come over, then let's see how to go about it. I went to him, I visited, and then he came to the airport, he picked me up, we go to the hotel, then he takes me for dinner, and then he says, this hotel cum guest house is within the campus, this is where you are staying, and next building is my office. And you come tomorrow at 9 o'clock, then we will sit and discuss. So next day I go to him. His room is a typical head of the department's room, full of books and journals and notes. There is no space. He is occupying a chair and almost hidden among all the paperwork. And he arranges for another chair and tells me, because sit here. I go and sit, then he starts writing something on his letterhead. I say, Professor, please give me 2 minutes time. I immediately go out of the room, talk to the secretary, ask her, is there any single room available where there is a board? No matter how small or how large, I need a room with a board. She says, yes, no problem. Then just go to the next room. Then there is a board there and hardly there is any meeting. If there is a meeting, then of course it's a different issue. Otherwise, that room is always vacant. You can use it. Then I come back and tell Professor Raghav Rao, Professor, and he is aged and senior and all that. So I said, Professor, please come with me. So he was hesitating and he did not really, he said, what is wrong in this room? Then I had to tell Professor, I'm used to using big boards in ISI Kolkata, and everywhere I go, I just look for a board. If there is a big board, then all my ideas come out together and I can see many things together. But sitting in a room, my eyes get closed and then I don't see anything. Sorry. Then he came with me. He was not very keen, but then I told him, Professor, do one thing. You give me only half an hour time in the morning and half an hour in the afternoon. Now, throughout the day, I will work depending on the understanding that we are having. And then at the end of the day, again, I will show you what I have done. So if there's an interesting problem, we can definitely work on it. But Professor, it is also true that at this age, we do not need any paper or publication, neither you nor me. I was already a full professor at ISI. I said, but definitely knowledge building, understanding about a problem, that is extremely helpful for our increasing the knowledge. After all, we are here to see that through research, we can really expand our horizon of understanding. To that he agreed. He said, that's very good, okay. After 1 or 2 days, he told me, because I have a student, this Venkata Setu Raman, I have a student who works in a biopharmaceutical company, but he can come only in the evenings and I cannot stay. So he is not doing anything good. I gave him a problem. He did little bit, but it was not quite successful. Can you take up? I thought, oh, that's the way out. I said, no problem. Let Venkata come one evening. The next day, Venkata comes in the evening. Is a stout, tall South Indian guy. And then I say, Venkat, let us do one thing. You come and you pose the problem to me. I will see how far you have gone, and then we will take it up from there. He said, okay. Then within the next 10 days, the manuscript is ready, all work done. The manuscript is ready on the table of Professor this Raghav Rao. He was utterly surprised. He was extremely pleased. Next. And the paper, optimal s to the power n factorial designs, when observations within blocks are correlated. This paper is also worth reading. There is a good problem, good formulation, good approach, and there is always scope to go for beyond what we have done. We took s to the power n, as you can see, symmetric factorial. So the asymmetric factorial part is again, it can be addressed. So our paper came out in this journal without any problem. So Professor Raghav Rao was very happy. It was a win-win situation. So I really had a good luck. In 3 weeks, I could do it. On another occasion, I had 2 weeks to visit Professor Kirti Shah to resolve a problem in environmental science. The problem was old post. I go there, we sit together, and luckily for me, in 2 weeks, we could resolve the problem and we could write out the paper and the paper was published. So I have been in a way lucky. I work hard and get the fruit. Next. Primadhish Das, another person. So Rajendra was mentioning about all of them. Yes, on occasions they have all visited ISRI on different workshops. So Primadhish was a student in Calcutta University, but he has spent his life in Kalyani University, near the Kalyani Agricultural University. So he collaborated with me on a number of projects. Here you see 2 monographs, and we had plenty of research papers in the area of DOE. Next. These are the papers, Mandal, Das, Sina, etc., etc. Then Pal is also there. Next. Yeah. So Primadhish and Nipesh, they both had one young, energetic student, Ganesh Datta, one of the youngest members in our family of research collaborators on DOE. Ganesh was always ready to put in hard work. Anything that we ask Ganesh, his famous quote, "Ho jabe sir, ho jayega, ho jayega." He would never say no, even though it is wrong or even though he could not do it. But he would still, his first reaction was, "Ho jayega." Ho jabe sir. And then, of course, we had to see what can be done, what cannot be done, etc. So it was fun to be with him. He's a young chap. He could transmit his energy to the old people like us. Next. These are publications. There are many more. Next. A truly unknown collaborator, foreign collaborator, Dr. Michael Saba. Dr. Saba had submitted a paper in the area of DOE in one Egyptian journal, and it was forwarded to me for referring by the handling editorial board members. I read it through, and it was a highly interesting exercise in linear models. Apparently, it had to deal with Sudoku designs, Sudoku-based designs, though there was no explicit mention of Sudoku anywhere in the narration. I found the data analysis grossly wrong and thought that it was beyond the scope of the author to fix it, because he was not really compatible with linear models. He knew the usual stuff. That's why it went wrong. I did whatever was needed to develop a correct data analysis along with the ANOVA table. At that point of time, it was decided to withdraw the manuscript from the journal and to process the revised version. It was duly submitted to Statistics and Applications Journal. It got published in 2014. Naturally, Dr. Saba was happy about it. We have not met each other. We have not even talked to each other. It was through the handling editorial board member that everything happened. Since then, I have comfortably worked on some combinatorial aspects of Sudoku designs with Jyotirmoy Sarkar from time to time. Next. Jyotirmoy Sarkar, bright, energetic researcher, kept me busy with intriguing questions on Sudoku designs. Jyoti expected more of my time for our continuing collaborative efforts. He has varied interests, combinatorial arrangements to reliability studies, also worked with me and another of my PhD students earlier in around 2005. So this time, as you all know, Jyoti was for the 24th conference that just ended last month. Jyoti was the solo speaker for the pre-conference workshop on reader-friendly writing. Next. These are the papers with Michael Saba and with Jyoti Sarkar, etc. Next. Shobita Sapam. Shobita had submitted a DST project under Women Scientist category, and the suggested area was DOE. DST evaluation team had Professor Dilip Nath of Guwahati University as one member, and he had suggested my name to Shobita for discussions and for strengthening her work project proposal. That's how I got to know her and we started working together. She is very hardworking and needed guidance in her thoughts and the direction of research. Our collaboration has been quite successful. In the process, N.K. Mondal of Calcutta University also has been inducted as one of the collaborators. Next. So it is remarkable that Sobhita has picked up topics and she has worked successfully to defend and promote her DST fellowship. Now she has completed 3 years. Now she is up for another round of DST proposal renewal. So these are the papers going on. There is a quite a long list. Next. Next. Yeah, this is Sobhita. DST Women Fellow, Department of I don't know. This is maybe in Manipur, I have no idea. Latest DOE collaborators. Eldro Varghese. I met him in, most probably in IIT Bombay or Pune in one of the conferences. He comes to me with a script and tells me, Professor, this is our work. I want you to be a collaborator. I said, what? No, we have done something, but if you collaborate, then definitely we can improve the presentation and the ideas can be enriched. I don't remember whether I asked him or not, whether it has been submitted anywhere. Anyway, the fact was that it was submitted to one journal and there was an extensive series of comments as usual from the referees or reviewers. I said, okay, let me go through it. I took the script, I went through it. It was on because it was on the response surface methodology, and I have interest in almost all aspects of DOE. So definitely it sounded quite interesting to me. I read it through and I could see that there are scopes of making some differences in the style of presentation. Yes, I can make a dent on the style of presentation. And possibly I can also add something more regarding some topics which I am aware of. And then I also mentioned to him that Professor Nipesh Mondal, I will, if you don't mind, then when I go back to Calcutta, I'll check with Professor Nipesh Mondal if he has any suggestions. Then Eldo was very happy. He said, yeah, it's all up to you. We know that it can be revived. So I take the manuscript from him. Then Seema Jaggi, I know her for a long time. She is one of the co-authors, and Shashi Shekhar and Hemavati, of course, I don't know. But anyway, Nipesh Mondal, so 5 + 1, 6. So 6 people working together on this revision, and I think we did a good job of the revision. The final manuscript is already out. It looks quite impressive. So whatever input we could give, we gave it, and then eventually next. So eventually it was published. Theoretical developments in response surface designs, an informative review and further thoughts. So there are plenty of things that they did, but looks like my contribution and Nipesh Mondal contribution also they have recognized. That's why they kept our names and we are very happy about it. So thanks to Eldo for inducting old generation people in this process, and really it was, so we simply exchanged our mails. It was mainly Eldo, and at one point, at 1 or 2 points of time, Seema Jaggi also got involved, and Hemavati also got involved. I don't remember if Shashi Shekhar was particularly involved or not. Next. So these are my co-authors in this latest group study on response surface methodology. They hail from Kochi and Benares and Delhi And me and Nipesh Mondal, of course, we are in Kolkata. Next. Special bondage with IASRI. Back in the early 70s, I had an opportunity to visit IASRI. At that time, Professor Enandas was the director and his son Ashish was a tender school-going boy. I vividly remember meeting a young group of energetic research scholars and faculty members. Alok De, Odun Nigam, G.M. Saha, Kulosresto were quite visible and engaged in serious, interesting discussions on various topics in the broad area of DOE. I do not recall seeing Vinod Gupta, Sima Jaggi or Rajendra Prasad in those days. In late 80s and early 90s, central stage was occupied by DKG, RP and SJ and their dedicated group of research scholars. The tradition of Parampara is quite visible at IASRI. Next. I have been visiting this vibrant and active place for more than 40 years, and I hold a special liking for the statisticians here. I'm always eager to lend academic support in whatever way it is feasible and possible for me in my limited capacity. I wish this institute continues to keep the tradition of excellence and exceeds all expectations about its visibility at national and international levels. I wish and hope that the current director, our very dear Rajendra Prasad, carries the flag of overall visible growth of this institute at higher levels. With all this, I'll stop, but I'll make a small observation at the end. When I a member of the National Statistical Commission back in 2006 for a 3-year term, my friend Hidayat told me, because now you are going through a journey in a different world, and because it is a 3-year term, destination will be there. So what do you like, the journey or the destination? I thought for a while and told, I will definitely like the company of persons I go along. He said, A++. That is the right thing. A day will come when all these 3-year term will be gone, but you will remember whether it is good or bad, it will be remembered by the people that you go along. If you do a good job, you cannot do it alone. So it is the company of the people who will make you feel happy about it. So in my limited way, I again thank all my collaborators in all different places for keeping faith in me and having me as one person in their group. I thoroughly enjoyed my journey. Now I am almost at the very end of my life, but I thoroughly enjoyed the journey in many continents. With that, I stop. Thank you.
Thank you, Vikas. Open for interaction with Vikas. Anyone wants to interact? Yes, student community. Vinay. Vinay, Ankita, Vinayak.
Rajendra,
Yes, sir.
if Nipesh Mondal or Manisha Pal are around, if they want to say something, that would be quite interesting.
Yes, sir. Let me see whether they are there. Professor Nirpesh,
Mondal.
we are not able to hear you.
Okay. Oh, he had a problem, yeah.
I think Dr. Manisha Pal is not there.
Okay.
Dr. Manisha Pal, are you there? He wants to say something. Professor Nirpesh wants to say something, but we are not able to hear. Students, Vinayak, Vinay, Ankita, Vijay, Bappa, Anyone? Okay, young researchers, Anindita.
Yes, sir. Good morning. Sir, Vikas sir, namaskar.
Namaskar.
Sir, I had an opportunity to interact with you. I came to you with Sini Varghese ma'am in IIT Delhi. We have some doubt in my research problem in generalized row column design. So, sir, we are really fortunate that you spend some of your valuable time with us and give your valuable inputs in our research. So, thank you, sir.
I don't remember anything, but it's
This
good.
was the day when you
ISI.
delivered the lecture on Oh My Captain.
Yes, sir.
ISI Delhi.
Yes, sir.
Captain, my captain. That's one of my very favorite lectures that deals with a combinatorial problem.
Okay. Yes, sir. There also you discuss your paper with Shah, sir. That
Okay.
connecting means connectedness in row column design, sir.
Right, right. That is my paper with Professor Kirti Shah.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's a long paper and a difficult paper. But that was some work that we did long time back. And yes.
Sukant.
That paper is a kind of foundation for people who are serious and want to work in row column designs. That's a kind of foundational level paper.
Yes, sir.
Dr.
So what
Sukant.
Anindita, what are you doing now?
Sir, I completed another project on row column designs and now try to start work on choice set design, sir.
Okay. So,
Dr. Sukant.
Yes, sir. I am here at I'm in a conference attending just sir one presentation also interesting presentation about this. Both are simultaneously attending. So, namaskar, Vikas sir.
namaskar.
Myself, Dr. Sukant Das sir.
I can recognize you very well.
In the airport also several times I go and pick you up.
Anytime I meet you, I stay away because of your big thing, I always am scared.
Once you told me about F statistics. Yes,
I
sir.
don't go against you. Whatever you say, I say, okay. Because of your.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Dr. Arpan.
I hope you remember whatever I gave lectures in terms of entertainment. Okay,
Yes, sir.
I try to make my lectures entertaining rather than giving any heavy theorem.
Once also you asked me about that CRD where we are going for F statistics instead of T distribution.
Okay.
Yes. That discussion also once.
Okay.
Anyone else?
Just
Anyone
I
else?
want to say that we came to know today, sir, about your journey from beginning from Asutosh College to till date. So what you have done throughout. Though we have met several times, but this thing was unknown to us. So we are very happy to learn about your journey. Thank you, sir. It was very nice lecture.
Thank you. I hope you get them, all the young researchers and faculty members, whoever is listening to me. I hope you get the inspiration. So I'm not a preacher, but I'm trying to set examples through my own way of working. Okay, so I hope that you get the inspiration. Nowadays, there are ample opportunities. In our time, we had to use a type machine, talk. But nowadays, there is enough opportunity to interact with people worldwide.
Anyone else? Boliye.
Yeah, it's me from Manipur University. Good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon.
It's me, Upendra, sir.
Yeah, I can see that, yes.
I am the only person who did not understand you before some years back. When you visit to Manipur University, I come to know what kind of person you are. You are the only person who spread the knowledge of statistics to different places of India, not only the India, abroad also. I must thankful to you for your work, sir. I'm also one of the person who collaborated with you, sir.
Thank you, Upendra.
Thank you.
Anyone else? If no, because
Yeah, 1 second. What about Eldo? Is he around?
Dr. Aldo,
He was there, I think he was
he
there.
is there in the meeting. Dr. Aldo?
Sir.
Yeah.
Namaste, sir.
Namaste, namaste.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for very informative lecture, sir. Hello, sir. Am I audible, sir?
Yeah,
You're
yeah.
audible.
Okay. Sir, I'm really thankful to you, sir, for giving us an opportunity to collaborate with you and still working on some of the problems which were discussed during our meeting at Pune University, sir. So thank you so much for all your guidance and support as always, sir. And I'm extremely happy today to see myself in your list of collaborators, sir. Thank you so much for your guidance, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else? If no, because it is my profound privilege to have interacted with you on several occasions. I would like to share one more. That was regarding number of times a control should be replicated in each block of a augmented randomized complete block. That was a requirement from the breeding people, and they wanted that how many times a control should be replicated in each block so that efficiency per observation is maximum. And during one of your visits, you gave the idea, and that we worked out, and that we had published in a Indian Journal of Plant Genetic Resources, a pure applied journal. And based on that, that idea was also implemented in statistical package for augmented design.
Very good.
For the benefit of the colleagues here, we would have now more closer collaborations and guidance from Professor Vikasda for next 3 years. He is our chairman, Research Advisory Committee. And soon we will have a meeting. Professor Vikasda, I will be writing to you for a suitable date.
Okay, thank you.
On behalf of the Indian Agricultural Statistics Institute, on behalf of all the colleagues who have joined from different ICR institutes, different universities for this lecture, we profusely, sincerely thank you from core of our heart for agreeing to be a speaker on this occasion and sharing your journey, life journey, and particularly the professional journey with all of us. Your publication list, which you have shown, and the collaborators, that will motivate all of us, and we will keep going in taking the research and applications of statistical sciences further. Thank you very much, Vikasda.
Thank you.
Sir,
Okay.
happy birthday in advance.
Okay.
5 days ahead. 5 days to go.
Okay, yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Vikasda.
Okay, bye. Bye.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much,
Okay,
sir.
bye, sir. Bye.
Okay, thank you, sir. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, sir.
Bye.
Sir.
Yeah. Okay, bye bye.
Bye, sir. Bye.
पीछे नहीं दिखता है मेरे में
We can close the meeting.
मैंने ब्लैंक कर रखा है देखना है आपको
अजीत जी क्लोज करा दीजिए.
ठीक है सर वो रंजीत ने नहीं बनाई है, वो वहीं से है, मैं उनको बोलता हूँ आपको होस्ट है सर, आप क्लोज कर सकते हैं सर.
मैं
आप
क्लोज
होस्ट
नहीं कर सकता. मैं क्लोज नहीं कर सकता.
कुछ नहीं दिखेगा
अच्छा मैं बोलता हूँ,
कुछ नहीं
मैं उनको बोलता हूँ सर.
ये अपना उपाय बना
कोई आ नहीं रहा है? कहाँ? इसको